Okay, we're almost done. This is the third and last installment. Okay, we're going to try to cover what are the major human-caused threats to biodiversity and how can we reduce these threats to biodiversity. And let me show you how. Oh, actually, we just finished covering this. My apologies. How can we reduce these threats to biodiversity? So, biodiversity protection. Okay, we have a lot to be proud of. We're going to start with hunting and fishing laws. Okay, and that's the fact that by 1890, most states had some kind of hunting and fishing restrictions. Okay, and the role of this, I'm not going to lie to you, originally it was utilitarian. Okay, it was pragmatic utilitarian, but over time it has become a form of management that is working very well. So the idea was to conserve resources for future human use rather than to preserve wildlife. Okay, so again, pragmatic utilitarianism, right? And the truth of the matter is that it's actually benefited us because um, we have promoted the life of many species, many populations, and we still get to hunt a little bit, and our hunting gets to keep some of these species in check. And for those of you who don't believe that these species need to be kept in check, look at what's happening in Cloud Falls right now. Um, a few days ago, I had to run an errand at night, and I'm going to tell you that I ran into 3 different herds of deer. I did not drive outside of city limits. I was inside city limits the entire time. And when I say herds, I'm not saying 2, I'm saying 8, 9, or more deer. So me having to drive through 3 herds of deer as I go from the store to a relative's home in the city is a disaster. We're having a problem. I am surprised that nobody has addressed it yet, but we need to start. We need to do something about these deer because we're at the point where we're going to start running into them, and they're going to start causing automobile accidents. Okay, I've taken pictures of them at home. I've had 5 in front and 4 in my backyard. You know, it's just out of hand right now. So there is such a thing as you know, having good laws that keep these things under check, because if we don't, it just gets out of hand. Enough ranting. Apparently, I'm angry at deer lately. Um, what else? The Endangered Species Act. Okay. What do? We identify species at risk. We find a way for their recovery. What does recovery mean? Recovery means that we bring their population back to numbers that are no longer endangered. Okay. Assistance to landowners to help them find ways to meet both economic needs and needs of rare species. This is a toughie. This is a real toughie. To give you an example, it's you know, we've been playing with wolves here in Oregon, Yellowstone Park wolves. If you want to get somebody upset, talk about Yellowstone wolves, because you know we went through so much work to get rid of the wolves because local ranchers were attributing the death of their livestock to these wolves, and we finally got rid of them, and now we have somebody introducing them, and it's causing havoc. It's causing havoc, and you know, every once in a while, one of the solutions is to remunerate the rancher for their cattle. Trust me, that does not make a rancher happy at all. Let's see, I'll let you cover that on your own. And then we have the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. It's international. International unions are great in that they work with multiple countries. They're not great in the fact that they don't have teeth. So, as you can see here, it says it has no direct jurisdiction for slowing the loss of those species. So, in other words, they can't go after anybody. This is really true of most international committees. They're more for observation rather than regulatory. Within the United States is the Endangered Species Act that provides mechanism for reducing species loss. We don't go to the IUCN. Let's see. So we need to remember what the purpose of the recovery plan is. Okay. And again, is how to stabilize a population to a sustainable level. What does that mean? A population size that is no longer endangered. Okay. It is also important for you to remember these distinct species. Okay. So we have a keystone species, are those whose elimination would affect many other members of the biological community. Okay. You would be surprised, but something as simple as a frog can be a keystone species. You remove that frog, and what happens is you have removed an important cog in the trophic web, and the whole darn biome or ecosystem collapses because of it. Quite incredible. Indicator species are those tied to specific biotic communities, successional stages, or environmental conditions. So an indicator species is indicative of what's happening to the biome, but is not of itself as essential as a keystone species. Okay, so what could this be? It could be bats. It could also be frogs. It could be snakes. So what happens is you look at the number of those organisms, and their numbers convey to you the health of the environment. The higher the numbers, the healthier the environment. The lower the numbers, the less healthy the environment is. However, they are not an intrinsic part of that environment. So, for example, if they were to disappear, the ecosystem would not collapse as it could possibly with a keystone species. So these are just indicative of what's taking place, and that's about it. Umbrella species require large blocks of relatively undisturbed habitat to maintain biopopulations. This is challenging. And the reason that this is a problem is because it is these organisms to which the destruction of the environment is more of a problem. Okay, an example would be cats. Wolves would be another example. Okay, cats are a better example because cats require a certain area in order to maintain their solitary lives. And if they do not have that amount of area because of habitat destruction, then it causes a problem. Okay, cats are really the best example. We have had some problems here in Cloud Falls with the occasional attack of a cat in Moore Park, and we attribute to the fact that we have just simply moved in too far over there, and we have destroyed their habitat, and consequently, this cat has no option but to fight back. And then you have a flagship species. These are especially interesting or attractive organisms to which people react emotionally. So, flagship species. Here's the thing, guys. We're human, right? So if the Endangered Species Act wants to attract our attention, what do? They bring a cute little animal that we can fall in love with so we can empathize with his plight, and then finally we'll move and do something. We've done this before. Do you remember? Let's see if I can click out of this. Tell me if you remember this. Baby seal. Oh, look so cute. So cute. So cute. Oh. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? You tell people, there's these terrible people that are killing baby seals in order to get their fur coat. You get to look at this little guy with those big brown eyes. Oh, that's it. That's war. Americans will do anything for a cute pair of brown eyes, especially if they're on a baby seal. So consequently, we go to war. That's called a flagship species. Especially interesting or attractive organisms to which people react emotionally. So if the Endangered Species Act wants to grab us by the horns, what you do is you bring a beautiful ram. You go, wow, look at that beautiful ram. How can you let that become endangered? Okay, so the Endangered Species Act seeks to restore population of species such as bighorn sheep, which has been listed as endangered in much of its range. Charismatic species are easier to get listed than obscure ones. So if you're a cute little ram, you've got a better chance of being listed than if you're what do you want to pick on? Toad. There you go. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Is it gonna be the cute little seal? Or is it gonna be the toad? I shouldn't be asking these questions because knowing you guys, some of you are gonna prefer the toad. The point is, let's not pick that toad. The point is that we're humans, and if we like something, we want to protect it. That's also a criteria for people to say that the Endangered Species Act doesn't work, because we only protect those things that we like. And just because we like something, that shouldn't be the only thing that gets protected. It should be anything that's endangered. Oh my goodness. So funding for recovery programs is given to species that are most well known. Makes sense, right? That's a cute little ram. He's just waiting to hit you. Okay. I love this. You guys don't see, you guys are too young to even know what this is about. Okay. This is a spotted owl. Okay. This was a huge problem here in the Pacific Northwest, because the way that it works, guys, is that sometimes we don't preserve endangered species because we're trying to preserve the endangered species. Sometimes there's a additional motivation to it. Okay, and at the time, what we had is what's called old growth forest, and we thought that old growth forest had to be rescued from timber companies at any cost, because old growth forest was a consequence of Mother Nature. As it turns out, it took us a while to realize it, but it's a lie. It's a big lie. And the reason it's a big lie is because old growth forest, the reason that it's here is because we put it there. What happened is we had these people called Caucasian Americans come in, and we disseminated Native Americans. We killed their main food supply, which was bison, and then uh, we stopped forest fires because Native Americans would use controlled forest fires to guide the bison during their bison hunts, and once you kill 30,000 bison or so, there aren't that many bison, so why have a forest fire? So we started uh, uh, stopping these forest fires that Native Americans would initiate, and consequently, this thing was born, which is a forest. The old growth forest is about 200 years old, and that's how long we have been here. So the old growth forest is not a consequence of Mother Nature, it's a consequence of us disseminating Native Americans. So we're protecting something that really wasn't natural. Having said that, we wanted to protect it, so we had to find a species that lived only in the old growth that was endangered. Well, cue the spotted owl. And as a consequence of the spotted owl, these old growth forests got became protected, and we lost a lot of timber business. As a matter of fact, we shut it down. Almost every mill got shut down. A lot of people became unemployed. Um, as you can see, there's a guy here with a saw, and they're showing clear cutting, which is a little bit of a lie because um, we don't exercise clear cutting. Um, but anyways, we can't cut the tree because there's a spotted owl there. There had to be a lot of retraining. Oh my gosh, it was a big, big, big problem here. But the truth of the matter is that we don't have to go that far back. Right now, we're having another controversy with uh, Native Americans and their water rights. And this time, amusingly, the Native Americans are on the winning side. And what did they use to beat us? They used the let me see. I'm gonna say this incorrectly. I wanted to say puffer fish, but that's not right. Um, oh my goodness! But they're using a fish that is indigenous here uh, to Klamath to regain their water rights. And amusingly, they're being successful with it. You know what? I know what to do. I will go to the United States, U.S. Fish, United States Fish and Wildlife, Klamath Falls. I bet you they have something there. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? Species conservation, species recovery. It's almost like what we're talking about. Let's see. Endangered Species Act, spotted frog. Where are you? Ah, there it is. Suckerfish. The suckerfish. How can you forget a name like suckerfish? Really? Okay, let me move this out of the way. The suckerfish. But you know what? It's not a particularly ugly looking animal, I guess. That's a suckerfish. There's somebody very happy with a suckerfish in their hands. No suckerfish. They're kind of big. They just look really ugly because, well, they're suckerfish. What are you gonna do? But wherever this fish resides, Native Americans get the what they by treaty they get their water rights back. And to say that this causes a controversy here, that's an understatement. So the point is that this Endangered Species Act is frequently used correctly, but a lot of times is used as a tool of, um, of politics, which is unfortunate. Okay, that's it. I just wanted you guys to also be aware of one more guy, this guy right here, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, because that's another international convention that the United States has signed on to and agreed to support, and that's what we use in order to make sure that uh, you know, endangered species trafficking is brought down to a minimum. So that's all I have for now. I hope I didn't bore you too much. You guys have yourself a wonderful day.